stuff together.
Okay, we're on.
Excellent. Well,
Can-
welcome everyone to a very special episode of We're Not Helpful, the podcast about books, recommendations, and our thoughts of opinions. I'm Eloise, and joining me as always is Brayton and Julian. Hello, boys.
Hello.
Hi.
You're always so enthused. It's so, like, I'm sure our listeners just love how enthused you guys are.
I'm very enthused.
Okay, that's excellent.
Can't
All
prove
right.
I'm not.
Joining us this week, we have a very special guest from and I'm going to bring it back up again because we've just been talking about a bunch of different stuff, so my brain's not working. We have the host of the Quiet Corner Bedtime Stories podcast. We have Annie on with us. Hello, Annie. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
We do
Again,
have
this is
the
this is the
recording up
point.
on
Yeah.
YouTube, so if you want to wave, you can
Oh,
wave.
hey, I. Oh, God. Can you edit that out? I don't know what I just said.
No, it all stays in.
Gonna say this is the point of the podcast where we have to pretend we haven't been just talking casually for 15
Yeah.
minutes beforehand.
Oh, goodness. So, Annie, tell us a little bit about your podcast and what it's all about for our listeners.
Okay. Well, it's a bedtime stories podcast where I read my favorite stories to everybody and I put it to soothing music to help relax you and for you asleep, let you fall asleep, hopefully. And yeah, pretty much that's the gist of it. But I started it because I listened to them myself. I went through a pretty hard time with insomnia after I had COVID pretty bad, actually. It
Oof.
affected my guts and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't leave the house. Um, it was terrible. And the only thing that got me going, because I love to read and I couldn't even read a book. So I started listening to books to fall asleep. And I found that I didn't find any that I actually wanted to listen to because they would have things like, oh, we're going to read how to bake bread in the 18th century. And I'd be like, oh, I don't really want to listen to that. Even though I knew I was going to fall asleep
Hmm.
to it, I was
No,
like, I want to listen to something I want to listen to when I fall asleep. Is that strange?
no.
No, that definitely makes
I
sense.
will say part of me is really interested in how they make bread in the 1800s now.
Oh, they're
I'm
there.
I'm into all that. I just
Yeah,
when you go down like YouTube rabbit holes at 1 in the morning
yeah.
and you find
They
yourself on some weird channel that talks about how they made bread in the 1800s.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
assuming it takes 6 hours.
Yeah,
Probably. How long does bread take to make now?
well, you have to like leave it on the bench to rise or something,
Yep.
don't you? With like glad wrap
Dough
around
takes
it.
a couple of hours to rise on its own, and then you got to shape it and let it rise into shape, and then you got to bake it. Takes quite a while.
Julian's
Yeah.
our resident former chef here, actually, so
Mm.
he knows how to do the things.
Kind of say, isn't there like an iPhone that does it now or something? So, you know.
What
Probably.
is it? Thermomix.
Yeah, it's
Thermomix
something.
does it all for you, and then it
Yeah.
explodes for your pleasure at the end.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, I totally understand where you're coming from in terms of the COVID insomnia. I had COVID myself just a few weeks ago and have had terrible insomnia since then. So I think I might need to get onto your podcast and start listening to some
Oh, well,
lovely bedtime stories to help me go to sleep. So yes, apologies everyone out there listening for the delays with our regular episodes. It was because I literally could not talk.
well, I can sympathize because yeah, it's when you get a good dose of COVID, it really, really affects you. When it affects your guts, it affects your brain.
Good dose, is it?
Yeah, good times. Um, yeah, but I found, and I wanted to preserve the books that I loved to read as a child. I thought I want to read what I would like to read. And
Mm.
because my anxiety was so high, it distracted me making this podcast. And I found I really enjoyed doing it, and people started actually listening, which I didn't
Always a
think they
good
would.
feeling when people actually listen. Yeah, you're not
Yeah,
just screaming
yeah,
into the void.
That aren't
yeah,
like
that's
your
right.
partners as well, just sort of pity listening to help boost up the numbers.
Yeah.
That's right. And but people were messaging me even, and I was just like, "What?" I'd go to my husband, oh my God, this person, they've sent me a message and said that they like my podcast and it's helped them sleep.
Oh, that's
Well, people are
awesome.
listening to my voice. Meanwhile, my teenage boys are like, but your voice is like a bogan, mum.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Was
Perils of
there
being an
that
Australian.
yeah, but was there that thing of like when you first started that kind of did you have to get over that maybe self-consciousness of listening to yourself talk?
Definitely. The editing, because I would be listening to my voice over and over again, and I would, yes, definitely,
Mm,
100% yes. It took me a while to get used to, but I love technology. Like I grew up with a dad who was building computers in the 80s and showing us how to build computers. And, we were one of the first families on the street with the internet. It was, so I love technology and I've always wanted to find a better way to do something. So I found I really, really loved the tech side of it. Like even the editing, learning how to use Audacity and,
mm.
learning how to use the equipment and make myself sound better. Like I cringe at my earliest episodes, like the stories I read. I'm like, oh, I want to redo it. I want to redo it. But I haven't had time yet.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to lie. I have really considered like deleting maybe the first 4 episodes of our show because they are very dodgy. Just
Don't
in
do that.
terms,
I like our episodes.
It's part of our charm.
yes, like the
My
content is
shorts.
fine, but it's the same thing. Like I was really self-conscious listening to myself back in editing, and it took me a while to get there and to actually feel like I'm getting better at because I do all the editing for the show. These other two don't do anything.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, that's all right.
You're just the
Oh,
pretty
I mean,
faces.
Yeah.
it's true, but
Well, but no, I actually I'm the same. I really actually enjoy it.
Same. I probably more so than actually reading the stories now. Just like I would, watch everything on YouTube I could to just absorb all the information that I can to
Mm.
try and make it better or make it perfect. Yeah, but
so what are sorry, what are some of the stories that you have produced so far on your podcast?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, the first one I did was one I loved as a kid called What Katie Did by Susan Coolidge. Um, I don't know if you've heard of it.
No,
No.
I don't know if you guys have. No.
Nope.
Yeah, it's just a typical like Anna Green Gablesy type one.
Oh,
Just
lovely.
easy to read and it just relaxes you. And I just love the story. And I thought I'm going to start with that one because it's easy to read. It's not very long, and if it's really crap, it doesn't matter. So that was the one I started with, and I went on to Black Beauty, which I didn't read all of because some of it's a bit sad.
Oh,
But I should have. And Anna Green Gables, I've read. I've done a few short stories. I think we've read The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe.
Ooh.
that's a good one.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you concerned that reading like scary or horror stories might not put people to sleep though? Rather, it might just keep them awake.
Um, it depends really what one it is and how it's read. My husband actually does all the Sherlock Holmes stories.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we've got a
Mm.
lot of Sherlock Holmes stories, and he decided that he wanted to throw his oar in and be a part of the podcast. So he does them, and they're actually, of course, one of my most popular stories that get read. The ones that he reads, not me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just choose books I like, pretty much.
Yep.
And if other people like them, that's great. And if it puts them to sleep, awesome.
I
Is
suppose
is
that there
is
are the type of people out there who would appreciate listening to horror stories, and I suppose it's like you don't have to listen to it if you don't want to. No one's forcing you
yeah.
to listen to a podcast. So.
Exactly. I want to have a whole lot of different stories on there. I don't need to just stick to the like ones I read, like the Jane Eyres and the Northanger Abbeys. Like I'm happy to have all sorts. Like I've got an older daughter, and to get to sleep, she listens to scary stories. That's what she does. There's specific genres of horror story bedtime stories
Oh,
that
well,
people
she's
love.
definitely going to like the melancholy death of Oyster Boy by Tim Burton.
Yeah, I'd say she will. I reckon.
But it's the equivalent. There's that meme going around of I think it's I mean this in the best way possible, like bored housewives listening to true crime podcasts
Yeah.
to put them to sleep.
I'm not bored, thank you very much.
Oh, do you love true crime?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I am very much a
Oh,
murderino.
yeah.
I think about maybe 50% of my podcasts are true crime podcasts. So
Maybe we should pivot to a true crime podcast. Has anyone done a true crime podcast before? Is it a popular genre?
I know
Like true
I
crime
might
now.
be
Mm.
pioneering it, come to think
Uh,
of it.
yeah, I don't know if anyone would listen.
No. But why true crime now? Yes, definitely. I think I'm very much in the vein of the type of people who would listen to those things. Funnily enough, sometimes when I'm like really exhausted and I'm just kind of like lying about with nothing to do, and I thought, oh, I'll just listen to one of my true crime podcasts, and then all of a sudden I've gone and like I've had a nap without meaning to or realizing
Yes.
whilst listening to these horrific details of the story. I'm like, I don't know what that says about me. And then I have to rewind so I can actually hear what was said, because I don't
Yeah.
remember what was actually being said. So I think I think maybe trying to find some nice calming books to listen to fall asleep is probably the best thing.
Yeah. And I do recap my stories at the beginning of every episode just in case people are actually listening instead of falling asleep all the time. Yeah.
So I was
Be
going to
interested to
ask when
know.
you're. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'd be interested to know how many people like are trying to listen to the story to absorb it rather than go to sleep and then get annoyed
Mm.
that they in the morning they then have to sort of like rewind and go back over it again.
Yeah, I would like to know that too, because I listen to sleep stories, not my own though. There's a few podcasts I listen to, and it always works. Honestly, 100% I can guarantee you every time I fall asleep to them. And I am totally, and I choose ones that I want to listen to. Forget what am I listening to at the moment? Can't remember. Anyway, it's because I fall asleep.
No, but I was gonna ask, like, when the goal of that is to fall asleep, when you're recording, are you in your mind going like, I have to be engaging to make it good, but at the same time not so engaging that it keeps people awake?
No, no, I don't think that. I just use this my quiet corner voice, my sons call it, or my non-bogan voice. Um, yeah, yeah, keep it neutral, I think.
Yeah.
Like I'll talk like, I don't know, let's say, oh God, what have I got? I pick it up and I'll say, she opened the gate of the yard and panted across it, just as a tall, grim-faced woman came round the corner. Oh, I took a breath then because, this is what
Mm.
my edits are quite funny. The cat. So I use that neutral voice
Yeah.
like that. I don't know. Did it sound different?
It definitely, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Much
it's
less,
quite
So
much less bogan.
yes, much less bogan. And except I love to send to my sisters, like I'll be trying to say a word. I can't say a particular word. And it's quite hilarious. And then normal words like naturally or
Mm.
you'll be trying to say this one word for about 5 minutes times. And I've actually got a book now. I call it my pronunciation book because I just have to sit there, pause it, Google, oh, how do I say that word? Because you're reading old-fashioned stories and it
Mm.
will be like, oh, they got onto their phaeton, I think it's called. It's like spelt Phaeton. It's
Yeah.
like a carriage or a chase or something like that.
Hmm.
And I'll be like,
So
oh my
we just don't
gosh.
have them anymore.
Yeah, there's all these big words. I have no idea. And then when I edit it and then I do the last listen to it, I'm like, oh, I sound so smart. Like I know what I'm saying and I know those words, and nobody knows how long that took me to say.
So do you
Uh,
pre-read the chapter that you're going to narrate before you narrate, or do you just go in cold and just see what happens?
I usually just go in cold if
Mm.
I've read the book. If
Yeah.
I haven't read the book, but I haven't really read any books that I haven't read yet.
Yeah.
Um, my
Mm.
husband, he will pre-read. He's very organized like that. But I'll just sit and I'll just read it straight through. Like I'll only pause it if I have to look up a word. And so sometimes you have me going, oh, I don't know if you're allowed to swear, like, oh shit, what? And then, I'll, delete that bit out or sit there and, cough or burp and delete that bit out.
Brayton's mentioned about how 90% of his editing is editing out me and Julian clearing our throats.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. It's fun editing. I find it fun. Is that strange?
No, I find it too. I find it, yeah, it's weirdly almost meditative in a way that we'll record on Sunday night and I'll get home Monday afternoon from work and actually be excited to sit down and edit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
okay,
I get that.
yeah.
It is. I find it, I don't know if it's my Aspergery brain, but it's like very like this is how it's done. It's done a particular way and I do it this particular way. And it's, yeah, I just like it.
Yeah. And it's funny that they said about the clearing the throats that I've done it so much I can recognize in the waveform on Audacity when it's a throat clear. I can almost just go, oh, there's one, and just delete.
Yeah. I noticed because when I got because you're Brayton, if people are watching, Brayton's doing a reading for the Quiet Corner, everybody. So watch.
Yep.
Or listen, sorry, not watch.
That was part of our collaboration. You come on here and we'll contribute a story to your collection.
Yeah, which was a good idea because everybody says to collaborate to, get your podcast out there. That's what you need to do. And I was like, how do I do that? I don't know. I can't by myself. I'm reading stories.
Because I can't even remember how we kind of first got connected. I think, was it on Facebook or you found us first, I think?
Yeah, because what happened was it was a Australian podcasting Facebook page.
Yes.
And I think you guys had commented or something, or maybe joined, or you maybe knew. I don't know. But I saw you there and I saw it was about books. And I'm like, oh, an Australian podcast about books. How cool is that? I have to listen to them because I love listening to podcasts about books. And I think I commented and said, oh my gosh, I have to check you guys out. I'm Australian podcast.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and I listened. I forget what was the first. I can't remember. I think
it was pretty early. It was pretty early on, if I'm remembering.
Yeah, it was one of your first episodes. It was before you interviewed some of the authors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I remember enjoying it because it wasn't serious.
Damn, that was completely the opposite of what we were intending. What
do you mean not serious?
We have failed.
And
we're a serious podcast. No, we're not.
But I agree. That's the thing. I've tried to listen to book podcasts in the past of just random ones I found, and a lot of them are very serious and just not fun to listen to.
No, I find it hard to find a good I find it hard to find a good podcast to listen to. I have to be really interested. Like you said, it can't be boring.
Yeah.
Here I say putting people to sleep.
But that's your intention is to put people to sleep. I don't think our intention is to put people to sleep.
Yeah.
I have a feeling people won't be falling asleep with ours. I know that I tend to talk quite loudly.
I've really got to pull your volume down in the edit.
You do.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Mute her section completely.
Yeah.
You keep trying to cut me out of this podcast. I'm going to take it personally one of these days.
Well, now that I've gotten better at editing, I could just completely delete your audio altogether, Eloise.
Stop
it would be very easy to do.
Stop that.
You could even play with the video a bit. Do something there.
Yeah.
Put like some kind of poster over the top of my face so you can't see it.
We'd be like when they do Garfield without Garfield. Just you and me, Brayton, saying something and just waiting like do it.
You guys.
Oh, they love you.
They do. I know they do. Deep down. Somewhere secret.
Yeah. Hidden from even us.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So Annie, considering we are a book podcast, is it possible for you to tell us what your favorite book is, or can you not choose?
Man, depends on the time of day, the type of year, the mood I'm in. but I can rattle off a couple of favorite books. To
Yep.
Kill a Mockingbird
Love that one. Great book.
definitely would be one of them. Have you ever read The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak?
I love The Book Thief
Oh my
so much. It is
God,
so uniquely clever.
I
The
love
movie
it.
does not do it justice at all. It is such a beautiful book, and I think I've spoken about that previously as well. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so those two would be pretty high up for me, I think. And I read a lot of books, like a lot, and I like a lot of books, but those two stand out because I really, really, really love them.
Are you attracted to any particular type of genre, or would you just read anything?
Read anything. Yeah. Yeah, I'll read anything, really. I love John Grisham. I read John Grisham, L.M. Montgomery, Stephen King, frickin' Twilight. But I'm not saying I enjoyed all of these
Yeah.
books all the time, but I'll give anything a go. I recently read one. You guys might, because Julian, you write, don't you? And Brayton, it was
Yep.
called Yellow Face. I don't know. Have you seen?
Rebecca F. Kwan.
I've heard of Yellow Face. I've not read it.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I thought I would have loved to have heard a writer's point of view of
Because
that book.
she wrote, what was it? Babel.
Yeah, I hadn't
You
read that
pronounce
one.
it. No, I've read Babel because I read much more in the fantasy sci-fi genres.
Oh, I love
I
that.
really should expand my repertoire a bit more, but all the books in my TBR are pretty much fantasy or sci-fi at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, I read Babel. I never sure how to pronounce it, Babel or Babel, and really enjoyed it. But she goes by, I think, R.F. Kuang. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, R.F. Kuang if it's more like her fantasy stories, and Rebecca F. Kuang if it's more like just a general fiction
Yeah.
book. So Yellowface has been on my list to read at some point, but
Yeah, I'd
I'll
be
get to it eventually.
interested to hear your take on it. But yeah, fantasy definitely. I'm a huge fan of fantasy. But especially some of the older ones. I don't know if you've ever read the Amtrak Wars. They're pretty
Have
old.
not heard of that one actually.
Oh,
Oh,
I
look it up.
have heard of that one. Is that more science fiction rather than fantasy?
Yeah, set in like very futuristic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that series. I think it was written in the 70s, maybe. Yeah, maybe the 70s.
I've recently stepped into the world of what they're trying to call like cozy fantasy.
Yeah,
Where there's have you heard of Legends and Lattes?
never.
Uh Eloise especially, you got to get into it. It's essentially about an orc adventurer that gives up adventuring to open a coffee shop.
Oh, love the idea. I'm
Yeah, I
there.
love the idea of that
It's
I
too.
wish to go to this
absolutely
coffee shop.
it's absolutely fantastic. I'm about halfway through it right now, but it is a joy to read. Like it's one of those books that is just so much fun. It's an easy read, but it's
Mm,
just so much fun and it's just so low stakes that
yeah.
it's so good.
I'm assuming, is it like people are trying to get the orc to come back into adventuring and he keeps saying no and stuff keeps happening around him perhaps?
No, well,
Oh, okay, sorry.
she gives up eventually. The only kind of conflict they have right now is there's like the local mafia that are trying to wrangle her, like their protection racket. You pay this money and, bad stuff won't happen to your shop. But of course, she is this 6 foot tall, muscular orc. She's like, yeah, no. And
That sounds interesting. I'd read that.
it's really good. And he just released a prequel to it actually called Bookshops and Bone Dust, where it's set in a bookshop actually. So I'm looking forward to getting to that when I finish this one.
Hmm.
Cool. I'll look that one up.
Now we were talking before while it's on the topic, Annie. We were talking before we recorded, and I'm like, we have to record this. Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time.
I've been desperate to talk to someone about Wheel of Time since I finished the series.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've read it, and in between, because you know how the author passed away, didn't he? And
Yes.
yeah, because I found them quite difficult. Just the last three before he passed away, and I found it when was it Robert Jordan took them over?
No, Brandon Sanderson took them
Brandon
over.
Sanderson, sorry,
Yes.
Brandon Sanderson took them over. Yes, I started liking them a lot more again once I got into them after Brandon Sanderson took them
I
over.
agree. He really
Mm,
revitalized.
yeah,
He revitalized it. Like we talked about the infamous slog,
yes,
which is, if anyone doesn't know, like books, I think 1 to 5 are generally regarded as really good, and then I think it depends. But oh no, sorry, book 6 is Lord of Chaos, and that has what's the name? Demon's Well, I think it is. Big battle at the end of that book.
yeah,
He's in
yeah,
he's in the chest, and
yeah,
it's a really good battle. So I think it's from like book 7 to 10 is generally regarded as like nothing happens
yeah.
in those books.
I might have even what I call skim read them.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know if you skim read occasionally.
See, I listen to the audiobooks,
Oh, I see. I should have done that.
so it was a lot easier to just kind of, if it was boring, just zone out and then be like, oh wait, what happened? And then have to go on the Wikipedia and look up, all right, that was chapter 37. What happened in chapter 37? Okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't skim read. And maybe I probably should have with I don't know if you followed us
Moby Dick?
previous. Yeah. Maybe I
Yeah, I
should
did.
have.
Yeah.
My one regret in life, I didn't skim read Moby Dick, or
You,
rather not read it at all. Go
What
back in
I
time.
don't
Punch myself in the
understand
face.
is you had to read a classic. Was that it? Because you had heard
she didn't have to. She chose to.
chose to read a classic,
Yeah,
but
she
why
put
didn't you do
herself through
something
this
like
This is
willingly.
her own fault.
why didn't you read The Great Gatsby? It's like this
No,
thick.
I've read that. No. You've just made Julian choke. I've read The Great Gatsby. We've also
Yeah,
had talks about that.
yeah. I've heard you guys mention it before. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
One day,
very
one day
briefly,
I will read it.
I did a 40 before 40 challenge, and one of my things on my list that I wrote down was I wanted to read a piece of classic literature I'd never read before, and I chose Moby Dick after hearing someone else talk about it on a different podcast. And if Jimmy Fallon is listening, yes, you have ruined my life.
You took Jimmy Fallon's advice? That's where
I
this came from.
wasn't even advice, because he said he tried to read it and then started reading the book Why Read Moby Dick and then couldn't even finish that. So
Oh, well, that's a red flag.
So
yeah,
you thought challenge accepted, Jimmy?
I really did. I don't know why.
What does Jimmy Fallon know? I know
What
better
does
than Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. It's not like he's a famous late night host who has popularity and money or anything like that.
And we said it before, you just read Dracula. You
I
could
had
have
just
counted
read
that.
Dracula. I
Oh,
felt like that
yeah.
was cheating because I finished reading it before I wrote my list.
So you didn't need to include read a classic in your list in that case.
You could have
Well,
literally written read a classic, then immediately tick it off.
I know. Hindsight is all well and good when you haven't read Moby Dick.
Oh my goodness. No sympathy for you. It's your own fault.
No, okay, yeah, you're right.
Self-inflicted.
Yep.
Can't even remember what we were talking about before we brought that up.
Talking about, what was it? Wheel of Time, the
Wheel of
slog.
Time. Yes.
Um, was that? Yeah, I think it was easier on audiobook through the slog.
Yeah.
And I think also people have said online that I've read that it's a lot easier now that the whole series has been released.
Yeah. I'd like to
Because
go back and read it again, I think. Because it's been a while. And because I remember really, really enjoying it, particularly towards the end.
it definitely, yeah, once
Yeah.
Brandon Sanderson came in and just kind of went, all right, I'm going to actually finish the story instead of meandering around for 600 pages, it got, it got good. I think
Yeah.
I think he did a good job.
Yeah. He's a good author, Brandon Sanderson. There's something else of his I've read. Can't remember what it was. There's another, there's a series of,
There's Mistborn.
yes, that's the one.
Mistborn.
Yeah.
I've got the first book sitting on my
Mm.
shelf that I'm
Yeah.
yet to read.
It's good.
Yeah, I've read the first 4 of the Stormlight Archives.
Oh, hang on. No, it is. It's the Stormlight Archives.
Stormlight Archives. Okay.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Yes,
Yeah,
I listened to them on audiobook because,
yeah.
I have an hour commute to and from work every day, so I've got a lot of time to read.
Oh, yeah.
Would you consider reading the Wheel of Time on your podcast, or is it more condensed stories that you're sort of focusing on?
They have to,
Assuming copyright,
yeah.
yeah, wasn't an issue.
The stories I read have to be in the public domain.
Okay.
So pretty much in Australia, those laws are the author has to have passed away before the 1st of January 1955, so for 70 years.
Yep. So
Otherwise, they can take it, they'll take it down pretty much.
In which case, my idea of reading something by Tim Burton probably won't work out at all there.
Yeah, it just depends. You'd have to check the copyrights. Yeah.
When did Tolkien die?
60s, 70s?
60, yeah. He's not,
Yeah, Tolkien
can't
would
read
still be in
Tolkien yet.
copyright.
I would have read The Hobbit by now.
Okay. I'll have to think
I
of
can't
different
wait
stories.
for C.S. Lewis to come on. I can't wait for Enid Blyton to come on. There's so many,
Enid Blyton still isn't within copyright.
Yeah, she's still within copyright.
Really?
Yeah.
When did she pass away?
Yeah, I would have Googled it at some point. Has someone got Google in front of them?
I'm on it.
Oh, you're on it?
Enid. 68.
Yeah, because I would love to have read some famous 5 books or Faraway Tree or something like
Would you
that.
have read the original versions that haven't been censored
Oh,
because of
with Fanny and
inappropriate
Dick.
content?
Aunt Fanny. Oh yeah, definitely. I would just put a thing saying that these are read in their original content form, which I have done for a couple of books, I think. I think I did it for Black Beauty.
Yeah. Because speaking of Enid Blyton, I read some early Noddy books of hers, and yeah, there's a few problematic things even in those.
Yeah, there is. There is a few things like even one I'm reading at the moment, Eight Cousins by Louisa May Alcott. There'll be a few like racial things they might say, and I'll be like, oh, you gotta skip that.
Yeah, even when I was trying to pick a H.P. Lovecraft story, it's like a lot of them are very.
Yeah, well, H.P. Lovecraft was known for being quite racist, I think.
Yes.
Even for his time, he was a very racist person.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because he wrote some great stories, and they're kind of tainted by that. Looking back on it now, but you can't deny the influence he had.
Yeah, it was it was the times though, when they lived, that's how it was. But yeah, I am careful about some things. Like I'll read it and I'll go up to Terry and I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I should say this line. And yeah, I usually don't if you're usually thinking you shouldn't, you shouldn't.
It's a good rule to live by.
I mean, you can always put like warnings at the beginning of them to say like, these were written at a time when certain things were acceptable and we're reading them with like all of the context. But at the same time, like I completely understand. I think I spoke about it on the podcast a couple of episodes ago where I'm reading The Princess Bride to my son. And in like the prologue section where William Goldman is talking about trying to find the Princess Bride to read it, like to give it to his son as a present. And like there's all of this sort of back and forth trying to find this book. And then he's talking to his wife about his son, but he's talking about how his son is like fat basically and how that's a bad thing, and then he like does a horrific homophobic slur towards his 10-year-old son. I'm like, I literally skipped over that, which is kind of ironic if you know how The Princess Bride is structured, which is all about the fact that his father was reading him The Princess Bride but was skipping over parts because it's filled with all of this boring stuff, and the print like how it's written now is the abridged version. But of course it's all meta because there is no original version and there is no version with like all of the long boring stuff in it anyway. It's just Goldman's unique way of writing the book to make it interesting. So yeah, I totally I get why you would not want to say certain things because of like the historical context is kind of gone out of it now, and it's just not appropriate to say those kinds of things anymore. But at the same time, like, I understand that, like, do we truly censor everything that we've had in the past when we know that like it's come from a certain place, and by censoring, does that mean that we're forgetting history and therefore forgetting where we've come from? So yes, not sure what your thoughts on all of that are.
Oh no, I agree with you. Like if I don't read a line, it will be something like you just said, they call, someone fat, or it's quite say, like you said, a homophobic slur. But there's a lot of things I'll leave there. And for that very reason is that these books are of their time, that's, and you want to preserve them and, have them remembered. And you don't want to change the past either.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm very careful about how I do it.
Plus, like going back to the Faraway Tree, for example, they released them in recent years and like changed the names of the children so that they weren't so offensive sounding. Like Fanny was turned to Franny. And I'm just like, why? Why
Yeah,
would you do that?
yeah, I know. I agree. And even the Roald Dahl censoring, like, oh, far out. I would love to read his book as they are, man. They are awesome.
Mm.
But yeah, I agree. You shouldn't be changing names like that.
I'm assuming Roald Dahl is still within copyright.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the good ones are. They live a long, healthy life. They
Yep.
did.
And if they're owned by Disney, that copyright somehow gets renewed every, except for Winnie the Pooh, which Julian and I had a great discussion about.
Oh, my son and I love that episode. Like I said, we're on a road trip listening to that. He hasn't watched it yet though, because he couldn't
Oh,
find where to watch it.
yeah. Not. There are ways not to advocate anything
Oh, okay.
not
Yes.
legally.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you
Take to
have,
the high seas.
yes, but if you have Prime Video, it's available to rent on there or any of those
Yeah.
places you can rent it.
Yeah. Oh, we do have Prime. I'll let him, yeah, we do. I'll let him know. But yeah, that was a good episode. And I loved it when you started. I think, did you start? No, it was when you interviewed Kate Mack. You were talking about the dark timeline, and all I can think was, oh, they watch Community, and you're
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
we
the
have.
goatee.
Honestly, after today, I think we all just need to start painting beards on our faces right now. Let's not talk about what happened today.
Yeah, let's talk about Community instead. Yes, we are all big Community fans.
Yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. I thought you were when you started talking about dark timelines and things like that. Yeah, I love that
Six
show.
six seasons in a movie.
The
Hmm.
movie's getting made, isn't it?
Hopefully, I think they just said they won't be filming till next year at this rate.
Very slowly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they better be quick before Joel McHale loses all his hair or something.
Oh
Well,
no.
they're hair plugs anyway, so they
Oh,
just put
true.
them.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, didn't you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Very famously got hair plugs, and he's spoken about it, like he's
Ah,
like unabashedly.
well, I don't follow Joel McHale very closely, I will
Ah,
admit.
fair enough. They're, like it's very obvious. There's like, oh, he was in an episode of some random early 2000s TV show. I can't remember what it is now. Like very much going bald. So yeah, he did, like, I don't know if it was plugs or a hair transplant or something, but he definitely got treated for it.
Okay, cool.
Good for him.
Yep.
We've run out of things to
Just,
say.
we all just had great silence right there.
Brayton will cut that out.
No, I'm going to extend it.
No, don't.
Put some cool music to it.
Yeah.
The intermission music.
Intermission. We'll take a quick break here.
Oh dear. Annie, you mentioned about Stephen King before. I don't know if you know that Julian is an avid Stephen King reader.
Oh, really? Yeah, I do. I
Very
really
much
like
so.
Stephen King. Yeah. Yeah, he's written a lot of books. But what would be my favorites of his? I really like The Stand.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course the Carrie, the original book he wrote. Yeah, I've read all of it on writing. I think you've talked about that before. I've read
Yep.
that. Yeah. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
it's got at the top of my head, I just can't think of any now. I'm put on the spot.
Carrie was, of course, the book that made him famous, that he also
Yeah.
famously threw in the bin.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And his
And
wife fished it out and said, "No, you finish this."
yeah, yeah. And I don't even know where that was going, but yeah, I love Stephen King books.
Do you agree with Julian's assessments that he can't finish a book well?
Oh, he's got ADHD for sure. If he needs to finish a book, doesn't he? Needs a bit of chemical assistance sometimes for that.
I should clarify that's not just my opinion. That's the Stephen King fandom in general, and the author himself, who
Yeah,
openly admits to being unable to do that.
yeah. But
I'm
he
glad he's
obviously
so
does.
self-aware.
He
Mm.
is.
Yeah, he's a very talented man. Stephen King, someone who can write that many books. He brings one out nearly every year. I must admit, though, I haven't read any recent ones of his, really.
Mm.
I always sort of go back. I don't know, Julian, if you've read anything newer of his, is he like just as good now as he always was, do you think?
I think these days he's a little safer than he was, probably because he's not fueled by as much cocaine anymore.
Yeah.
But like
Why he's not
when
making
you
movies.
when you read something like The Shining, and he pulled out all the stops, particularly with how that book finished up. But then you read its sequel, Doctor Sleep. He's a lot older, something like nearly 40 years older, clean and
Mm.
sober, a much different position in life, and the ending is a lot safer than he
Mm.
did for The Shining. So he's gotten a lot safer,
Yeah.
and some of his books are a bit hit and miss since the accident that he had.
Like the Dark Tower, you really notice the difference in the Dark Tower from before the accident and after the accident.
Mm,
That's
yeah,
it.
but I still love him. I still think he's great. Even his recent books are very political. Um, I don't know if you've read any of his recent books, Eloise, but he is very anti-Trump,
Oh,
Oh,
and that comes through very heavily in his books.
it comes through very heavily in his tweets, so I
Mm.
wouldn't be surprised.
I think it was Brayton that I said he got to a point where Donald Trump blocked him on Twitter.
oh wow.
So
High
he very
praise.
famously said, "Well, that's fine. You can't go to any of my movies."
I think I said to you, I'd love to see him try and enforce that.
Yeah, yeah.
I would love to see Donald Trump actually go to the movies. Like, didn't he say that like he famously hasn't watched anything since like Gone with the Wind, and that was like when classic cinema was still good cinema? My God, how old are you? My goodness. Oh, I had a thought and I was,
Nope.
damn
Well,
it.
I'll go then. So, Annie, when we're talking about narrating stuff, have you noticed? Because when I was reading the music of Eric Zahn, I made so many mistakes that I just kind of beat myself up over and read through like
Yeah.
one sentence that was just, I took about 15 tries to get right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's just a short story. Like, do you find yourself getting better in narrating
Yes.
as you've gone on? And like, what techniques have you kind of picked up along the way?
Yeah, you definitely have gotten better. I think just doing it regularly because I put out 2 episodes a week.
Yeah, you're much
So
more proficient than our one a fortnight.
yeah, so oh yeah, but mine's a lot shorter. Like my episodes only usually like between 20 and 30 minutes because I'm usually reading 1 or 2 chapters.
Yeah, but even so,
Um
like, I think the one I sent you is probably just over 20 minutes,
yeah, it
and
was
that's
25
the,
minutes.
there
It
you
was
go,
perfect.
and it still took me like nearly 2 hours just to record that. And I thought
Yeah.
I skimmed through it like, oh yeah, Yep, and I looked up a couple of other readings on YouTube, and they were averaging about between 20, 30 minutes. Thought, I'll knock this out in an hour, it'll be fine. And I'm sitting there 2 and a bit hours later. Oh my God, that took a lot longer than I thought it would.
Yeah, you do. You get better at it, and you learn what time of day you're better at doing it as well.
Mm,
Like for me, I usually do it in the morning, early, like even before I go to work. Like I might do it 6:30 in the morning or 7 and have a nice peppermint tea with me, which helps the vocal cords.
yes. I hear brandy
Um,
is good for
Nice.
that too.
yeah, brandy at 6:30 in the morning in the peppermint tea. I'll
Might
try
help you
that
get
next
through.
time.
Might help you get through the workday easier.
Yeah, yeah, good. But yeah, you do get better
Mm,
at it. And you find if you have a break, because I know when Terry reads, he will have a bit of a break and he'll come back and it will take him longer to do a reading and he'll be like, oh, I have to do it more often because you find if you do have a break,
yeah.
you lose those skills of what you've picked up on how to, you know, reading it.
Mm,
Yeah, and because they're books I've read, and I've read a lot of them I've read over and over. I know them very well,
mm,
um, as well. But yes, when I started, it took me a while,
yeah.
definitely. Like you, like I would find a 20-minute story would take me an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Um, where now I will read, will probably take me about, if I read for 30 minutes, um, that's probably for me, I know it would be about a 24-minute read. So it's like I've cut it down a lot. So
Oh, well done.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that the two things I found was one, my mouth got a lot drier really quicker than I thought. So, okay, I really need to get the water going.
Yes.
But the thing that frustrated me most is before I sent it to you, I made one mistake right in the middle of the story where it said something had begun, and I'd
Mm.
accidentally said begin.
Oh, did you
And
redo it
I
or
read
and you
I
got
re I redid it. I
and
redid
clipped
it.
it in?
I spliced it and I clipped it
Yep.
in.
Yep.
And I hope you didn't notice because I tried probably about a dozen times trying to match the tone of that. It was right in the middle of a sentence,
Mm.
and I had to like splice. I think I re-recorded the whole sentence and spliced that in, but I had to kind of because it was in like the highly emotional part right at the end of the story, and
Yep.
like I've got to match that intensity.
Yep.
And like, oh my God, it took me so long to get a
Oh,
take where I was
thank you
happy.
for persevering because it's really well read. Like when I got it, I was
Thank
like, oh
you.
wow. Yeah, definitely. I've had to do the splicing as well when I've gone back. And it's frustrating when you have to do that. And or yeah, the cat, bloody cat. Um,
The worst thing I find, because this is the longest thing I've had to record, because I recorded a couple of pages from Kate's book when I did that mini review episode, but this was exponentially longer. And the thing that frustrates me most is I don't really have a great soundproof room.
hmm.
Like this is I'm in my cupboard next to my bedroom, but the thing is we have budgies right out that window over there, and I can hear them through my headphones. And I'm like, I don't know if they're picked up on the recording or not. And I'm
Oh,
like, I don't know how to edit budgies out.
Australian birds are the worst because I'm in a storeroom at the back of our garage, and right out that window, you'll get, I'll be in the middle of doing my nice read, and I hear,
Mm,
Bloody Australian
Or
birds.
neighborhood dogs, because everyone has dogs.
yep,
Yes, yes, everybody's got a dog here.
yep.
Yeah.
At
Um,
least, at least if it's just a loud squawk every now and then, you can just edit that easily. But with my budgies here, and when I was recording, it was like probably 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. So they're out there chirping non-stop the whole time.
that's the worst time of day to record is around 10 or 11 o'clock
Mm,
because the birds are singing and the dogs are barking
yep,
and the
My
workmen
next
are
door
doing their
neighbour's
work on the
mowing his
street.
lawn again.
I
yep.
was about to say mowing.
Yeah, mowing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
unfortunately
Julie's
that,
case for the fifth time that weekend.
yep. Unfortunately, it was the only time I had to record.
yeah, but you have to keep hydrated. Like you said
Mm,
before, one of the things is you have to keep hydrated.
Yeah.
I always have water there. I always would, have a peppermint tea or something like a nana before I start. Yeah, and that helps.
Yeah, and like you said, I found it really hard to kind of you're on a roll, and then when something stops you, getting back into that same mood and that same kind of voice. Like you've had a lot more practice doing the voice than
Yeah.
I have. Do you find you just can fall into that neutral voice really easily now?
Yeah, really easily. Like I can like today I read a chapter from Eight Cousins by Louisa May Alcott about 2 days ago, and it was a fairly good read, but I had to edit it a bit more, so it ended up only being about 16 minutes, and I'm like, oh, that's too short. I want to do another chapter on there as well. So I read another one this afternoon, and whip that up pretty quickly, and I
Mm.
can put them together now and edit it so it sounds exactly the same. So I don't know why I said that. What was the question?
No, yeah, about just falling back into the voice really easily, like so it
Yes.
doesn't sound like it's spliced.
Yeah, yeah. So I do. I can in the voice. I've got it down pat now, so it doesn't matter when I record or
Yeah.
what time. If I have to stop for an hour and come back, I can
Mm.
make the voice exactly the same now.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah.
of voices, I'm assuming that how we're talking is you wouldn't really do like characterization or character voices then at all. Is it all just sort of like the same kind of tone
Yeah.
when you record?
Yes, it is sort of like the same kind of tone, but I will sort of change the tone a little bit when somebody's speaking. Not so much because I'm not good at voices. If I tried to do any sort of accent for you, you'd be in stitches. My American one sounds like Irish. My Irish one sounds Chinese. I'm all over the place. Um, but I would just change my voice and as Brayton was walking through the forest, he looked at the birds and he went, "Oh, wow, what are those birds doing today?" So I'll sort of
Okay.
change,
Yeah.
the tone in my voice, so to speak. So I don't go lower for a guy or higher for a girl. I just sort
Yeah,
of,
because
yeah.
I don't listening to a lot of audiobooks like I do, some of them are so good at different voices, and yet I am not at that kind of level either.
Oh, I know. There's this one sleepy podcast. She's called The Sleepy Bookshelf. Oh my gosh. I don't know why she's doing like bedtime story podcasts. Her voices are amazing.
Yeah.
Like I sit there going like, is that the same person? You should
Mm.
have a listen. It's called The Sleepy Bookshelf. The voices she makes, even American. She just read The Great Gatsby actually, and she's British, but the voices she does, they're amazing. I don't know why she's not getting paid lots of money to voice act.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are amazing.
Hard industry to get into, apparently.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
I'll
know
never.
how to get into it. But Annie, do you think like if this ever got take off, would like narrating audiobooks or something be something you would love to do professionally?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely do it. Like I love like creating this podcast. Like
Mm.
honestly, if I never made money from it, I will keep doing it. Like I just love it. I love the process. I love reading the stories. I love that people are listening to them. And I love knowing that if it helps them get to sleep, because I know how horrible it is. Like I just remember how awful it was for me to get to sleep and how these other podcasts and stories help me. And if I'm doing that for
Mm.
other people, I'm so happy, that it's
Yeah.
helping other people. And that's why I do it. Like I just love doing it. And I love knowing that, yeah, people could be sleeping or falling asleep and actually because of my bogan voice. No, because um, yeah,
Well,
it's
if
And
you
if you can just
recall,
stop one person from doom scrolling on
yeah,
Reddit or Instagram or something as well. That's
yeah.
such a great thing.
Yes, yes, that's
Mm.
right. It's so I like to think of it just not as a sleepy podcast, but even maybe mental health podcast, just to
mm,
so yeah, people you're not thinking about anything else, you're just listening to a story.
yep.
Mm.
And it's yeah, anyway.
No, but no,
I'm very passionate about it.
that's great, and I think
Yeah.
that's why we kind of started this because I think all of us, I think we've said come from a more theatre background. We did all that at uni. That's how we all met. And I think all of us were missing that, having that creative itch scratched.
Hmm.
This is a good way to kind of do something creative, put something out into the world and see what happens.
Yeah, that's right. It's and I've never considered myself a creative person. Like I'm from a family, like my husband, he loves to write and he'd love to, one day publish a book. He's an awesome artist. My daughter, she's a graphic designer. She designed my logo. Um, she does a lot of my cover art, and my 16-year-old son, he does a lot of 3D animation designs. He uses Blender.
Yep.
He actually sells commissions like doing that stuff. So he's done some of my artwork.
Oh my goodness.
My other son, like they're all so creative, and I just like, oh, I'm not good at anything. And when I started doing this, I almost felt like I found what I was meant to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is strange, just reading stories, but yeah,
So how
I
did
love it.
they all react when you kind of pitched this idea to them?
Oh, it's super supportive, eh?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
like yeah, particularly my husband, he was like, go for it. Like do it, see where it goes. This is like because he's always tried to say, find what you love, do what you
Mm,
love. I'll support you, do what because he, loves to do his writing and he's taken time to do that and I've supported him or his art. And he's like, as soon as I started this, he's like, that's it, boom, we're doing this. What do I need to do to help you do it? And yeah, and while my boys are, they're typical teenage boys. They don't say much. They'll make jokes, but but they're happy to do artwork for me. And so they're supportive. They're all really supportive, and which is great.
that's awesome. So
Yeah.
how long have when was your first episode released? How long have you been doing this for?
Oh, yeah. Well, pretty much it was the 12th of July, 2023 was my first episode release. So it's been just over a
Ah,
year, just
just a
over a
year.
year. Yeah. And I think I've got a pretty good following. Unfortunately, I had a hiccup with Spotify where they deleted my account without telling me.
Oh,
Yeah, I just got an email off them. They
that
said
that would be why I tried to look you up before and it said there was an error.
yeah, well, I'm on Spotify again, but I had to get a whole new URL. Can I just say, I'm sorry if Spotify's listening, but their customer service is absolutely shocking.
I don't think you're the first person to say that.
Oh,
Yeah,
they and I tried to ask them, why have you deleted my account? And after like a week of trying to get hold of someone, they finally said, oh, something to do with your email. I'm like,
Ah,
what?
oh,
And they said, just appeal it. And I appealed it. It's been nearly 2, 3 weeks. I still haven't heard anything. And they were
helpful.
actually my host. So when they deleted my account, it deleted my podcast.
Oh
oh,
no.
Yeah. And I was close to nearly, over 5,000 downloads anyway
oh
Oh
wow.
wow.
with them. It was like 4,998 or something. And I had 45 followers on Spotify as well. So my account was gone, and they pretty much said, "Oh, there's nothing we can do."
Oh,
Oh,
And I'm like, "You're freaking kidding me!" So I contacted Podbean. Actually, I ended up like, I'm like, "What can I do?" Like, so I contacted Podbean, and they helped me, and I got up on Spotify again, but I had to reopen a whole new account, and
yeah,
I used it under like the Quiet Corner email instead of my personal email I was using, and so Spotify had it to start from scratch again, which is really frustrating because now, as you know, if you change hosts, it's your statistics are gone.
yeah,
You
yeah. We
know,
had that too, and we were originally on Spotify and then switched over to Acast.
yeah,
And yeah, it's very disheartening to look back at like episode one has 3 downloads. Like,
it
I was like,
is.
no, no, we had more. It's just that all the analytics got reset when we switched over.
Yeah, it is. It was very. I actually considered Acast. I think the only reason I didn't is because you couldn't put your RSS feed to go to YouTube.
Yeah, I didn't
Mm.
realize until too late that you couldn't do.
Yeah,
So now
yeah,
I'm just, but it's actually been a really good opportunity to learn some video editing. So I'm actually putting up the full videos of these recordings now.
yeah. Yeah, for you, that's probably better. Like for me, it doesn't. The RSS feed works better because I don't
Yeah,
have video. But I ended up paying for Podbean, but it was like $108 for the whole year. So,
Yeah.
which is pretty good. And their customer service was like really good. They really helped me get everything sorted out, so I didn't lose any of the analytics from any of the other ones like Apple and all those other ones you use. It was just Spotify.
Mm.
So I'm
Podbean's
just
better than
hoping.
Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify seemed to be like this weird outlier where they don't really work with anyone else.
Mm.
But, you know, I don't know. Acast has been good for us, but if either of them or Podbean want to chuck some sponsorship our way, we will happily sell ourselves out. We've said that from day one.
Yeah, I'm passionate about my podcast and I'll keep doing it. But hey, if anybody wants to, I don't know
Oh yeah,
how monetizing my niche is, but I'll find out.
Yeah.
So if there's any one story that you could do, that you could do without having to worry about copyright or anything like that, what would it be?
Honestly, oh man, I'd love to do Charlotte's Web.
Oh,
Charlotte's Web. It's not in public domain yet.
not in public.
And I
Gosh.
know, but there's a lot I would like to do that aren't in the public domain. But I would love to do. I don't know why, but I would love to do Charlotte's Web. I don't. I know I lean towards these sort of, teeny, not teen, I shouldn't call them kids stories but adults love them too.
Mm.
But I know because I remember I mentioned to someone last week that I want to do Heidi, and they're like, I think they're around my age, so they're in their 40s, and they were like, oh my gosh, do it. I love that story as a child. So I know that there's people out there wanting to hear these stories they'd listened to or read as a child, and yeah, just hear them again for that. Yeah. But yeah, Charlotte's Web I'd love to do. I'd love to do Roald Dahl. I'd love to throw in a few Trunchbull sayings in there. Yeah, I think that's all I can think of on the top of my head.
And so I have another really random question that out of all these books that you've kind of read, have there been any movie adaptations of them that you've seen that you think live up to them?
Oh, okay. Movie adaptations.
If you've seen any.
The 1985 Anne of Green Gables series.
Yes.
With Megan Follows. That would definitely live up to
Netflix had Anne with an E. That was Anne of Green.
No, don't get me started.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't.
I was about to say that one was not very good.
Haven't watched it. I don't know.
I hear it's pretty good, Brayton.
Oh, really? I should go start watching it right now.
Well, me and Eloise are just going to go into our other separate room on Zoom over there. If you start. But yeah, definitely that one. I'm trying to think, what else have I read? Northanger Abbey. I haven't. No, that movie wasn't good. What else have I read? Yeah, I think that's the only one out of the ones I've read that I could say, live up to the book at this stage. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I haven't read anything newer, and I haven't read like Pride and Prejudice yet or anything. Otherwise, I would say the Colin Firth Pride and Prejudice.
Yes. Colin Firth Pride and Prejudice far superior to the Keira Knightley movie. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Just for that scene. And you all know the scene.
We all know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Not in the book, not in the movie. Only in the miniseries with Colin Firth.
Yeah.
The equal opportunity sexists here.
I was going to say the only other one that jumped to mind is all the Sherlock Holmes adaptations that I know your husband read.
Yes.
But I don't know, like my immediate thought was the Robert Downey Jr. ones, but they are, I'm sure, very different to the books.
Yeah, they are. But you're right though, because when you said what I've read, I didn't think of him. He read those ones, not me. So yeah, Sherlock Holmes, the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, yeah, that he keeps to the character of Sherlock Holmes really, really well. Yeah, definitely. And I'd never actually read Sherlock Holmes books before until Terry did them for for this. And
Yep.
so I have really enjoyed editing them, and I'll be sitting there editing going, oh my God, I want to know how this ends. I'd get really excited because I enjoy editing those ones now because I have still haven't read them because he'll read them all.
Yes, so
I'd say
did he suggest reading them, or did you ask him to?
Um, well, I can't remember actually. That's a good question. Did he like weasel his way in, or did
Hmm,
I actually invite him? I'm going to ask him after this. I'll let you know.
thank you.
I hope that you actually did like hear the whole story rather than fall asleep to them in the end. But I
Oh,
suppose if you edited them.
yeah. If I've got to. I don't know if I would listen to his stories to fall asleep because I know his voice, and that's why I did find it hard telling people about my podcast at first who I knew. I didn't
Mm,
really share it much because I'm like, it's my voice. No one who knows me is going to actually listen to it. I was a little bit
yeah.
embarrassed.
See, I had a moment like that the other day because I work with kids and parents and things, and one of them said they're really avid readers and they enjoy listening to audiobooks, and I almost went like, "Oh, you should listen to my podcast." I thought, "Oh no, that might be a conflict of interest, and I shouldn't probably say that." So
Yeah.
I've got to stay professional.
Yeah, it's hard because I work in education as well. And
Mm,
so yeah, I didn't tell anyone, but they all know now. And then even the school I work at has this program called the Big Picture program. I don't know if you've heard of that, where it's sort of like a very big project based learning for, students who do quite well in school.
yeah.
And the teacher who runs it found out I do a podcast and had me come into the classroom and talk to the kids about starting a podcast. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know.
Oh, but very nice of them to ask.
I know. I don't even know how we found out about it because I wasn't telling anybody because somebody discovered it. I don't know how, but anyway, and then it got around and then everybody knows it worked now.
Someone who couldn't sleep, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas I tell everyone at my work that I do a podcast. So I'm like, please listen to my podcast. Here's the podcast link. And I
Yeah.
send it to them on Teams.
Yeah. Well, I
And then
do
you,
now. I think I only opened a Facebook page up for my podcast a couple of weeks ago because I only had Instagram. And as soon as I did, I said, do you want to send this to all your friends? And I'm like, yes, I will. Thank you.
and you
Super
take
friends.
their phones and subscribe for them. Just hit download all.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and it's so funny because I had to start Spotify again. I'd lost like all my ratings because I had like a few people had rated it five
Mm.
stars. I'm like, oh, and so I thought I'll rate my podcast because it's a new URL. I've got no followers. Oh, don't rate until you've listened. I just left it on, put my phone on silent, press play, and just yeah, gave myself a
I was
five
going to
star
ask,
rating.
do you listen to your own episodes to help you go to sleep at night?
No,
No.
that's a big no.
Because
I
you'd probably start hearing like, oh, that didn't sound great. I should go back and re-record that.
Oh, yep, it is exactly what I do. And you know what the thing is, Brayton? There's one I loved. I don't want to say what one it is, but there's one I loved that I'd listened to before I did my podcast, and I'd fall asleep to it, but I can't listen to them anymore because, oh my God, there was a mouth click. Oh my God, that breath. They didn't edit that breath. I'm like, oh my God, I'm judging them for their editing skills now.
That was the breath was the one thing I had to go back and re-edit a few times when I was doing mine because I would realize I'd been like really close and gone and breathed in like, oh no, lean back when I have to breathe and
Yeah.
then
Oh,
again.
that's all right because when I edit, I always have a silence clip that I have
Mm,
copied, and I'm so quick now. Boom, boom, copy paste in between all these things, and like even when I was doing yours, I do certain gaps between certain like if I know this bit's a dramatic moment, I want to have a bigger gap here, so I'll put in a silence
yeah,
before the next bit starts, and I know I'm going to have music in there,
mm,
which so I yeah.
it's good. Yeah, I
I
apologize
always
for
have
not
silence.
editing my audio at all. I just sent you the raw.
Oh,
I
it
figure
didn't
you
bother
can
me
do
at
whatever you
all.
need to do with it.
It didn't bother me. It was actually a good. Like I think all I loudness normalization. I
Yep.
think that's all I used pretty much for that one. Did I compress it? Probably. I can't remember. I have
Yeah.
a certain things I do
Yeah. Same
each,
here.
yeah. I love it. It's like a recipe and I follow those rules every time. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm looking for I haven't actually had a chance to listen to my episode yet, but I'm looking forward to if I can bring myself to listen to myself again.
Yeah, see,
But
that's the
I
thing.
listen to myself enough just recording it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to I want to hear at least some of it with all the music and everything.
Yeah, you still got a bit of PTSD, so
Yeah, maybe I'll give it a week or two and then I'll come back to it.
yeah, but it is. It's fun choosing the music. That's why I use royalty-free music from Pixabay. I'd
Mm.
love to one day. Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody do the music for you? That would be pretty cool.
My my dream is to have some composer reach out to us and just go, "Hey, I love the podcast. I've made this for you."
Oh, no problem, Hans Zimmer. Help
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, I know he listens. He's a big
Yeah,
fan.
There are
yeah,
any musicians out there who would like to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Call in.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not now because it's not live.
So, Annie, what's coming up next for your podcast? What's the next story that's going to be
Oh,
hot off the presses?
Jane Eyre.
Oh, very nice.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes. I got
Brontes.
Paige did the artwork for me and sent it to me yesterday. So got the artwork ready to go. But I'm doing like in between. I probably won't start that for 2 weeks. And Terry will do a Sherlock. I've got Brayton's one. And I read a short story by Ellen Montgomery, which I really loved. Oh my God, it was so good. Made me laugh. You have to listen to it. It's quite funny. Comes out next Friday. Anyway, I'm going off topic now. Yeah, I would eventually love to ask the audience what they want to listen to. Like, I'd love to do
Yep.
something where I read the first chapter of about 4 different books and say, here you go, guys, choose which one you want me to read.
Hmm.
Cool.
Or maybe if we put a shout out to our listeners, if you would like
Yep.
Annie to read something specific for her podcast, and obviously taking into account the copyright
Yep.
statutes as well,
Mm.
send us an email or hit us up on
Yep.
Facebook, send a comment, and we can forward it on to Annie for you.
Or if there are any writers out there that want their story read,
Yep, I would do it for sure. Like I said,
maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth, Annie. Sorry, I'm just volunteering you for stuff.
yeah, I'll read. Well, I'm not one of those, exotic breeder things. I'm not doing that. People pay for that.
If anyone wants to pay me to read those types of things, I will do it.
No limits with Brayton.
No, I look, I really enjoyed the couple of hours I spent recording the story for your podcast. I really enjoyed. So if you ever want me to read, if there's ever a story you're like, oh, this would be perfect for Brayton, hit me up. I'm more than happy to do it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's I think my husband he hadn't read the Eric Zahn either, the music of Eric Zahn, and he's reading, he's like, oh, wish I could have read this one. He's like, so
It's
now
a
he's been looking at H.P. Lovecraft. Oh, what can I read?
it's a good story, and actually one of the few stories that H.P. Lovecraft himself actually liked, because he was a
And
he was a very self-critical writer. I think he hated like most of the stories he wrote.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
he
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 did.
was never happy.
Yeah, no, that one is, and I don't think it's actually too scary. Like I thought, oh, should I put, oh, if you get scared easily, maybe this isn't the bedtime story for you. And I thought, no, I'm not going to put that because A, I don't want to encourage people not to listen to it. And, and B, it's a little bit creepy, but it's not like super scary, I didn't think.
No, no, it's a pretty
Yeah.
tame one.
Yeah.
I think like if you're going to see H.P. Lovecraft in a description, you know what you're going to get, really. So,
Yeah.
Bloody oath.
and I would argue not a lot of his stories are terrifying in the convention of like modern sensibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
like
but it's because he was such an influence that people have taken what he did and built upon it.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he was writing like back in the 20s, 1920s, it was very different, I guess.
Yeah. It is. I think one of the creepiest ones, oh, The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan
Mhm.
Poe.
Mm.
Ooh.
Oh, now that's a scary story. I thought that was pretty creepy. Yeah. Um, that will get read one day, I think. Definitely.
Indeed.
Halloween special.
Yes.
Yeah. For
So,
sure.
Annie, if people want to get in contact with your podcast at all, can they reach out to you? How can they find you on the socials?
Oh, yes, I think I'm on most. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I'm on TikTok, but I don't really use it because I don't really, know what to put on there.
No.
Um,
TikTok is so fickle. Like
yeah.
I've clipped things from this show and put it on there, and some of them will get like 700 views really quickly, and others will flounder at about 150.
Oh,
I don't know why. I can't work the algorithm out as to why they never go viral, but some get a heap of views and
mm,
others get very few.
yeah.
I can't work it out.
I'm lucky to get 5
Yeah.
on TikTok, so I tend not to use it as much. But I also have a website. It's like I haven't got my own domain yet. I'd like to. But yeah, and my email is on that. And I have actual polls. I put a poll on my website on what you'd like to listen to. That's why I'm reading Eight Cousins, because I had 3 choices and Eight Cousins won. People think about, I didn't have heaps of people vote, maybe about 20. And yeah, about 15 of them voted for Eight Cousins and 5 voted for Jane Eyre. So I said, I'll read Jane
Yep.
Eyre next. Yeah.
Nice. And I will put all the links down in the show notes.
Yep. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. That'll be cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be putting your links up. I think I'll put a teaser reel up today.
Yes, I saw that. That was so cool.
Yeah.
Except I heard my voice after about 2 seconds. Like, nope. Click off that for now.
It's good.
It looked the picture looked very cool though.
Yeah, I wanted to try and make it a bit moody. So I'll probably, throw once I've got the cover art done, throw something on tomorrow. I think I'm maybe doing a little real video of saying, hey guys, everybody, listeners, this is what's happening. Cool. I don't know. I'll see. I'm a bit in the camera. I haven't got great in front of the camera.
I don't record it now. I'll clip it and send it to you.
Yeah. Hey, listeners. Oh my God, I'm put on the spot. I don't know.
No, sorry.
We'll just like do freeze
Kidding.
frames.
Yeah. Hey, listen to Brayton reading the music of Eric Zahn on my podcast, The Quiet Corner Bedtime Stories. I did remember the name. It's by H.P. Lovecraft. Follow the links down here, and you can listen to their awesome podcast as well.
Yay.
Oh, thank you very much, Annie, for coming on
Yes.
the podcast today. So
Yeah.
don't forget, everyone, it is the Quiet Corner Bedtime Stories. If you want to check it out, we have been We're Not Helpful podcast.
Yep.
And thanks very much, Annie, for coming on this week. And for everyone else, we will see you again in the future.
Yep. Thanks heaps, guys. Yep. Julian, Eloise, Brayton. Julian, I felt like I was talking too much and you didn't get to say much. So I apologize.
Oh, that's fine. They usually cut me out of most of the conversations anyway, so I'm used to it.
But yeah, I really appreciate you guys reaching out to me. It was really awesome, Brayton, to hear from you guys and us to
our
do
pleasure.
This. Really
and,
exciting.
If there's any other podcasts out there that want to collab, hit us up.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
And if you want to sponsor any of us out there, guys, please, we will take your money and say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well, Brayton and I will. I don't want to speak.
I mean, I'm sure we have a line, but what that line is, I'm excited to find out.
Yeah.
We don't yet know.
We'll know.
It all depends on what you're willing to pay us, really.
Yep.
We'll have a discussion.
And we will veto you.
Oh dear. All right, bibliophiles, we will see you on the next podcast.
Okay, thanks guys. Have a good week.
Yeah.
Thanks, Annie.
See you later.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.